Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. Today we are bringing to you another black belt. He trains at Southside in Brisbane. He is the owner of Flex Hot Yoga and he is Mantra Schultz. Thanks for joining us, Mantra.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Kim and Anton, Roll or Die, let's go.
Yeah.
It's really good to connect with you because we've known each other for about 15 years and This is probably like first time we're getting to have a in-depth chat.
That's right.
I gotta think, you guys have known each other for as long as I've been doing jiu-jitsu. That's crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, round about as long as we've been.
Yeah, got to be a bit less. I'm not quite at 15 years yet, but yeah, for as long as I'm doing jiu-jitsu, basically. So yeah, we met, I think somewhere around one of the competitions. I don't know where it was, in Melbourne or somewhere else. I used to travel a lot. And yeah, we met each other along the way. So this is basically what this podcast is anyway. Just me having a chat with my friends. So here we are.
I think we
sharing it with the world.
One of the Kapai Puku Pan Pacific Championships where we'd win a bag of cereal alongside your gold medal.
Yes.
But the acai bowls, the acai bowls. Is that what it was?
No, it was actually the Kapai Puku ones. There was, there was like, it was sponsoring it. And that was I think probably where we met.
And the guy with the amazing voice, I remember his voice, like it's so distinguishable over the mic, always talking about Kapai Puku. You know the voice I'm talking about? Like you can hear his voice, like whenever he's on the mic. He's got the most, anyway, enough about him. So you train with Pasha.
It was a cereal, it was a breakfast cereal that was kind of like birdseed. So you have this for breakfast and you'll be chirping all day.
And it would give you super BJJ powers, I'm sure. No doubt. Must.
Absolutely.
I could have done with it, I'll tell you that. So you train with Pasha, do you? Up in Brisbane?
I train with Pasha and up in Brizzy. So it's very good, very satisfying. And get down to Melbourne as much as I can to train with Lockie. And then I'm also subsidizing my training with a really good black belt in Brisbane called Lauro at the Academy of Grounding. So I find it beneficial to have my main team and then have somewhere that I go regularly to just for that different perspective and keep upskilling in that way.
Yeah, awesome. Do you compete a lot?
I used to compete a lot, quite voraciously for probably over 10 years. Had some good successes at nationals and Pan Packs, and it's very. I've competed a couple times as a black belt now. It's been almost 2 years. It's a very, very interesting experience at black belt. At all of the colored belts, like white, blue, purple, and brown, you've got everybody's within the same skill range. Whereas you've got the greatest skill disparity in black belt and also the kids divisions.
Interesting.
You got kids that have been training for 10 years that are getting matched up against a kid who's been training for 6 months. And the nature of the promotional system and black belt being the final destination, you've got no ceiling in the skill set. And so it's pretty deep. And I think another nuance of competing through the ranks and then up at black belt is at the color belts, a lot of people are competing for experience, whereas people don't do that at black belt anymore. People compete at black belt because they think they're going to win. And there's a lot more because the students are watching. There might be gym owners, a lot more on the line at black belt. And so you've got that deep skill set with an unlimited ceiling. And then you've also got the fact that some black belts are absolute beasts and some black belts are getting older. And so you can get a rookie black belt coming in and absolutely blasting a division.
Yeah, for sure. And you get, hobbyist black belts versus, professional black belts. You can get those at any belt really, but I feel like you're exactly right that there is such a bigger disparity between, active competitors. Exactly how you said it. But I was a bit distracted when you were talking. For any of our listeners that missed it, your shoulder mobility totally threw me during that because I as a black belt, there's no way that I could do that move that you just did when you it looked like you were just stretching. But obviously, Mantra, you're a yoga studio owner. Tell us about that. Like, how is your mobility doing jiu-jitsu and then also doing yoga? Because please share with me. I need some of that.
Yeah, honestly, yoga came first. So the flexibility, the mobility was already there. And then it's just been a matter of maintaining it as much as I can. And as we know, like as people have been doing yoga, jiu-jitsu for some years, it's like purple belt is the belt of injury. And if you can, like white and blue belt, you're doing mostly performance-based jiu-jitsu, and you don't require to do much rehabilitation. But the more time on the mat that we do, we've also got to increase the amount of rehab,
Often that stuff, yeah.
active recovery.
Yeah.
So the weighting distribution of active recovery and rehab goes up.
Yeah.
And but that sort of balances out with the fact that as you get better in jiu-jitsu, you can learn skill sets within jiu-jitsu and explore new corners of jiu-jitsu with at a faster pace. So yeah, I hope that like as we gain an experience in jiu-jitsu, we can keep developing new skill sets and also put that extra time into taking care of the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm keen to know about your injury journey because yoga was there at the start, right? So actually for me, it hasn't, like I'm nearly from my purple belt, I hope. But like the biggest injuries for me actually came at white belt and blue belt because I just wasn't doing technique properly. And I left my wrists exposed, everything was exposed and I didn't know how to protect them yet. And also I'm older now, like I'm nearly 50. So, I don't roll.
Anton, I don't think Mantra wasn't meaning purple belts get more injured than whites. Is that right? At Mantra, you're more meaning by the time you get to purple belt, you've really got to pay attention to that rehab stuff. Is that right? Did I understand that right, Mantra?
Yeah, often purple belt or thereabouts, everybody's journey is individual, but it's around about purple belt where somebody reaches a make or break point.
Okay.
Yeah. They've accumulated maybe a few injuries at that stage.
Yeah. So my question,
niggles and stuff, yeah.
So my question for you is like, what has your injury journey looked like having had yoga since the start? Because not many people would have that, So have you dodged all the bullets, or have you been a train wreck of injuries? Like, what's it been like for you?
Broken pretty much every bone in my body.
Whoa.
Had a knee surgery. Busted my back so many times, popped shoulders.
What the?
Wrist injuries.
That's not the answer he wanted, Mantra. He was hoping you would say, like, this is the answer, guys. This is the way forward.
The yoga guys. If you want to be healthy.
Wow, that's serious injuries, man. Impressive that you're even.
Yoga's definitely helped, but the nature of the combat sport is there might be injuries. And I really like what you said, Anton, about how, not that you got injured more as a white belt, but as time went on, your body awareness and your body intelligence improved to the point where you're getting injured less now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
That's
I've heard that like kind of strength is like the opposite of flexibility. So like, I don't know, would you say that like maybe you need a bit of both for jiu-jitsu? Like it's not necessarily about having all the flexibility in order to keep your body, protected or whatever. But at the same time, no point just being so strong, but don't have any flexibility. So would you say that would be pretty accurate, like to have a bit of a balance?
Absolutely. Like anything, there's pros and cons. And for example, when I started jiu-jitsu, flexibility was a huge advantage because I was able to re-guard and put my legs in places that people think it's a hand, but it's actually a foot.
We all know to roll with people like that. Yeah. That sucks.
You got crazy legs in St. Kilda.
Others. That's it. And that's one advantage I guess females have. It doesn't feel like we have much of an advantage, but we're generally more flexible than guys. So that can be something that can really help, you know, especially when we're coming through and you're getting smooshed and you're feeling bad, but you've nearly always got a better flexibility than a dude, depending on.
And the hip movement comes a lot more naturally for ladies.
For females, yeah.
So what are the cons? What are the cons of that flexibility for you? What have you found in that process?
The cons of flexibility is you can get real smushed.
Okay.
So it can jam you into a spinal twist. Somebody could. I remember my coach back in the day, Dan Higgins, he put me in a triangle, which is he did a triangle on me, you know, like this, but my leg was also in there.
Wow. Oh, until you cried. Is that the idea? A triangle.
Hurts, yeah. And you got the flexibility to resist it, you end up like breaking your teeth on your knee bone.
Wow. Oh my Lord.
Mandra, tell us about Flex Hot Yoga. How did that come about? And how do you do that in between jiu-jitsu, or how does that go?
Since it's primarily a jiu-jitsu podcast, I'll probably speak more from that perspective. To be honest, I started training jiu-jitsu when I was 23. And then when I got to 26, I just felt like I want to have some financial independence and be in more charge of my life. So I want to start a business. So what I did is I got 2 pieces of paper, and on one piece I wrote the skills that I'm good at, and then on the other piece of paper I wrote things that I like to do, and then merged the two and sort of removed some different attributes until there was only a few prominent attributes, and it just made sense to open a yoga studio.
So brilliant.
That was the idea behind it.
And were you called Mantra at that point? Is that your birth name, or did you kind of apply that, or was that one of the things you wrote on a bit of paper, like my name is Mantra, so I should have a yoga studio? Like, where does Mantra fit into this category?
This is a secret, guys. My birth
not anymore after you say this on the podcast. Go on.
My birth name is James.
Okay.
And
I know you as James. That's where I met you. Yeah.
When I was 14 years old, I moved out of home and joined a temple where I lived for 8 years.
Wow.
And inside of that ashram experience, like in the monkhood, we received spiritual initiation within the Bhakti yoga tradition. And mantra comes from that initiated name.
Amazing. Wow, that's so cool. And you went on a deep dive into spirituality at 14. That's so epic. I love that.
Mantra, don't be put off by this being just a jiu-jitsu podcast. Like, we want to explore, all areas of our guests' interests and lives and stuff. So we're very happy to, digress into that area if need be. Yeah,
I think at that time I was looking for spiritual solutions for material problems.
Okay.
And I came across a real incredible text called the Bhagavad Gita. It's 700 verses. It was spoken 5,000 years ago by Krishna to Arjuna. And the questions that were coming up in my mind at that time, a lot of them were getting answered through the book, and I thought I want to explore this more deeply. And it was like a natural progression just to move into the temple. And it was a really, really good experience.
It's amazing. Well, circling that back to like jiu-jitsu, because I like jiu-jitsu, I'm a slow learner. I have to accept that. I'm 15 years and I'm a goddamn purple belt, right? So, this is like slow. It's as slow as you can get. And one of the things I've really gotten for myself is like my retention and application of things under pressure kind of disappears. But I didn't do a deep dive like you did at that age into something, texts and concepts and understanding. Like, do you think that these things impacted your learning of jiu-jitsu? That's what I've become fascinated by, is what kind of things cross-reference to make people great learners of jiu-jitsu? Or are you not a great learner of jiu-jitsu?
Definitely the focus from meditation. To be honest, I find the philosophies of yoga and jiu-jitsu to be very similar. You know, we're looking at body, mind, and spirit. Just the expression is different, and the practices have the practices are a little bit different. Like yoga, you're more on your mat, you're focusing inward, you're doing postures, you're breathing, you're meditating, withdrawing the senses. And in jiu-jitsu, there's a little bit of that, but there's an exchange between a friend, a training partner, or you know, an opponent in competition. So you know, there's a little bit of a peaceful and more violent expression of a very similar philosophies.
Cool.
Yeah, I've
Honestly,
heard
like,
it said that jiu-jitsu, yoga, and surfing kind of go together. Do you surf much at all? Have you tried that?
never. I wish. Yeah. Do you surf?
I don't know, but I'd love to.
I skate.
Yeah.
Skating's like surfing, I guess. So you know.
Yeah.
Shredding.
And Mantra, when we went to set this podcast up, we couldn't do it at the time because I think you were on a retreat of some sort. Is that right? You were away for a while doing something.
A whole bunch of travel,
yeah. Do you go away and still like immerse yourself like that from very much, or?
Yeah, go back to India as much as possible. So I went there in February to reconnect with the community that I grew up there. And instead of just going on normal holidays these days, I usually just go to training camps for jiu-jitsu.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was just in Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 week camp with Josh Hinger and
Okay.
Luke from BJJ Escapes.
Here I was thinking it was a silent retreat and like you were doing something where, you know, you can speak for a week and things like that. You're doing
It
jiu-jitsu.
was a silent retreat because he put so many people to sleep. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think any silent retreat is going to shut us up.
What's the BJJ scene like in India?
In India, it's small, it's growing. There's a couple or a few black belts now. I think fairly recently, like within the last few years, there was India's first native black belt. And then there's at least one Brazilian black belt that I'm aware of is there. Yeah, jiu-jitsu is not as developed as it is, say, here, but it's catching up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really, it's a globe. Like you can go anywhere in the world now and train. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah. It should be, as it should be, yes. And so Mantra, for our listeners who maybe they're not fully as immersed into yoga as you are, what would you recommend for people to do ongoing, you know, to be able to benefit the best from yoga and from their jiu-jitsu? You know, like how many times a week could the average Joe expect? You know, should they be aiming to do, or do you think yoga's, obviously you're going to think it's a good thing to do, it's necessary, but what are your thoughts on that?
I reckon for people that are training jiu-jitsu, it means you already have your sport, you already have your main thing, but you want to get more flexible, you want to, you know, be full of energy when you want that, and then you want to be calm when it's time to chill out. You know, there's so many benefits to yoga, but for people who've already found their sport, which is jiu-jitsu, I recommend doing one yoga class a week. You know, and that's going to vary. That's like a general recommendation, one yoga class a week. That's it. And then stretch 5-10 minutes a day. You know, find a time a day that you enjoy stretching and breathing, and do a couple of things that you learned from that yoga class.
Yeah, for sure. No, well, that's pretty much what I do. Like that's my goal. I have my jiu-jitsu, let's say 4 times a week, and I'll always aim to do 1 or 2 yoga sessions. I need that to supplement my jiu-jitsu. Otherwise my body breaks. Like I just can't. If I go more than 2 weeks without a yoga session, like, yeah, that's what happens.
What is yoga for you? Is it mostly
I do Bikram yoga.
Yep.
Is that what your yoga studio is mostly doing?
We have a couple of Bikram classes here. We call it 26 postures.
Yeah. No, we don't like to use the name Bikram anymore. We don't like to associate with him.
Oh, that's that,
Definitely.
isn't it? Yeah, he's a bit out there. Yeah, I
Is,
saw a documentary on him on Netflix. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So go on, Mantra.
Bikram is somebody that did a lot for yoga.
Yeah.
He really helped to make it mainstream.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he's also quite a character. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Few indiscretions, yeah. So yeah, but definitely. I mean, I like all of them. I get benefit from all of them. I've tried meditation. I would love to say I can continue the meditation. Can you talk to our listeners at all about that, about how to persevere through that initial stage? Because it's really hard to get into. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but I find it very, very hard to switch off and meditate.
Yep.
I know the benefits of it. I know I should be doing it. I just can't.
I think jiu-jitsu is a very good form of meditation. It sort of forces you into that present moment. And it's a moving meditation, just like a yoga class. You're moving, you're breathing, you're taking your senses of sight, of hearing, of touch, etc., and you're turning them inwards. And so that similar results can be achieved through jiu-jitsu, through the moving meditation, through a yoga class. That there's activity in the yoga postures that eventually lead towards stillness in shavasana. And if somebody actually wants to develop a sitting meditation practice and finds it really cool, then I'll give you an analogy. So I'm looking at a ceiling fan right now. You can't see it. The ceiling fan is spinning quite rapidly. If I turn it off, the switch goes off. Does it just instantly go to a standstill?
No.
No, it still spins quite fast. It just gradually reduces until a standstill eventually. You know, you could still, even with it switched off, you could spin it with your hand, or you could, a gust of wind could come in through a window, or you know, you could get another fan and point it at that fan and it starts spinning again. Right. And so the mind is similar in that sense, that we have a lot of thought, we have a lot of activity during the day. To go from busy to nothing is completely unrealistic. And especially if you're somebody that multitasks in your day-to-day life, then going from doing 3 things at a time to 0 is also unrealistic. And so a way that we can approach meditation in a very practical way is through mindfulness. Okay, all day I've been doing 2 things at once. Now I'm going to just slow down and just do 1 thing at a time. We actually call this dharana in yoga. It's one of the 8 limbs. Like it deserves its own. It's such a significant part of the yoga practice. This concentration. 3 to 2, 2 to 1, 1 to 0. And so you can experience the benefits of meditation by just reducing, just by slowing down. Slow is a skill, right? When we're learning technique in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
New people, they get excited, they want to rush it, they want to overuse their muscles, they're sweating when they're practicing the technique. And what do we say to them? You know, as experienced people, we say, relax, slow down. Slow is skillful. When you can do it slow, you'll be able to do it much faster later on with such good precision.
Yeah.
This is all meditation aspects, mindfulness. And we can apply this to really any area of our life, because as yogis, we're going to be on our mat an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day at the most. But then the rest of the time it's yoga off the mat. And similar jiu-jitsu, we might train an hour or 2 a day. But then as a spirited martial artist, we want to take the benefits of the training off the mat Because most people practicing for life.
What you say is so powerful. Wow. Because I just realized, like, when I'm cooking, for example, like I notice, like I don't have my phone out. I'm not taking phone calls. I'm not on my computer switching between a million tabs. I'm just cooking. And I get this immense sense of peace, even though I'm doing stuff. And I'm not rushing, I'm just chilling through the zone. And like, I just feel relief. Right. And then when I'm on the mats doing jiu-jitsu, whether I'm doing the technique or something else, I'm just listening to the instructor and I'm doing the thing and I'm rolling, but my mind is nowhere else, and although it's not at zero, it is at one thing and one thing only. And you're right. I just got that is meditation, man. Thank you so much. It's powerful as hell.
Yeah. And for me, like, it's 100%. Like I'm rushing around going, okay, now time to meditate. Yeah. And I'm wondering why I can't, because of course not, because I've been doing not just 2 or 3 things. Sometimes I'm doing 10 things and then I'm trying to go and do one thing and I'm getting down on myself because I can't make that switch instantly. So 100%. That's so true. Hey, we're not got a whole lot of time left, but we always pretty much ask all our guests how they discovered jiu-jitsu. So can you share with us how that came about for you?
Yeah. There was a few events that happened in my life that led up to me starting jiu-jitsu. So I was in California and visiting a temple, and the temple president there, his name's Tukaram. He's quite an alpha fellow. And after the spiritual discourse and the program, and there was dinner, there was like 2 of us left. And he said, have you guys ever trained jiu-jitsu? I said, no, what's jiu-jitsu? And it's like, oh, it's wrestling on the ground. And we're in the temple room, like a temple room, in a temple, and he just lays back on the marble floor with his feet up in the air and is like, try to pass my guard. What are you talking about?
What does that even mean? Yeah.
He's like, try to get past my legs and pin me, like in wrestling. And I'm like, okay. And I'm trying to run around his legs, try to, zigzag around, and he was just retaining guard. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. It's sort of fun. And then because there was 2 of us left, he said, do you guys want to have a roll? Like, what, on the marble floor? And he said, no, we've got mats. So he just produced these mats out of nowhere and just laid it out in the reception of the temple. And then me and this other guy, we just started like grappling and that was my first experience of jiu-jitsu.
This is amazing.
I've never had a guest say that, in a temple. What a place.
Yeah. So you're telling me you didn't find it through the UFC? that
was later.
That's what 99% of our other things.
Man, that is an amazing story. And so after that, like, how did you progress? Like, how did you go from
that to going into class or whatever?
Grades and belts and gis and...
Yeah, I had that memory. And then there's another temple story. So in Wollongbar, northern New South Wales in Australia, there's a farming community of Krishna devotees. And it used to be, whenever they had festivals, they'd have like village wrestling. So they'd get a garden hose, make a perimeter, and it was people pair up, and you win by throwing them outside of the circle, pinning them. And I was naturally competitive and was give this a shot, and got absolutely smoked. It was like best out of 3, and I got smoked like 3 times in a row, multiple times over by people that had some experience of doing this before. And I remember thinking, I love this. I really enjoyed this, but I hated losing. I want to get good at this. Yeah. So that was the second impression that sort of stayed in my mind. Then the third one was sort of from UFC. It was my best friend introducing me to UFC. I said, brother, I want to train martial arts again. I had to stop Taekwondo when I was a kid, because even though I'm very flexible, I can't high kick because I get some grinding in the hips, bone on bone. So is there a different martial art I can do that doesn't require really high kicks? And he said, Manchu, you're going to love jiu-jitsu. I'm going to show you the UFC. Put on the UFC. And then the fourth event was walking through Wollongabba, like right next to the Gabba Stadium in Brisbane. And you know those community notice boards that cop rain, and like every post on the notice board is just like smashed with the rain and the sun.
Yeah.
So is this to this day, it feels like a very iconic, like come to jiu-jitsu moment. On this weathered, smashed up community notice board, there was an A4 piece of paper, black and white, that had somebody like knee riding another person. I can still remember.
Ah.
And it was weathered like a pirate scroll from all the rain and the sun. And it's try jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
And I called up and they said, well, we're closed for Christmas right now, but the first class back is on the 7th of January, 2007. So that was the day it all started.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow. And guys, if you have a gym, there's your marketing tips as well. Do a knee riding, try jiu-jitsu, picture, make it a weathery, pirate scrolly, and you'll get people like Mantra, man. That's amazing.
Awesome.
How did you guys start? I'm gonna ask you.
UFC.
Well, I started, my ex-husband used to do it back in the day, and so I actually sort of wanted to join back then, but he was against me sort of rolling with dudes and doing that. And then we didn't have a great breakup, so when we split up, I got into jiu-jitsu almost like to get back at him. Revenge. So I've got an even weirder story because I did it like that, but then within, I don't know, 6 months to a year, I realized I'm not actually doing it to get back at him anymore. I enjoy this. It's for me. So it was my sort of thing. So there you go.
Amazing. You got a huge ladies team. In it's
we do.
It's the first time that I've seen such a big ladies team in that you guys don't need to roll with the guys unless you want to.
Yeah, we would hope so. Unfortunately, not always all on the mats at the same time. So and I guess because we're spread across 3 locations, we're sort of split up a bit. So it's still that would be ideal. There's been times certainly where I don't need to roll with dudes, but majority of the time, we still do. But we're nearly out of time, Mantra, so we're going to have to wind it up. Do you have any final words, any parting thoughts for our listeners?
Do what you love. Always maintain your sense of adventure as time goes on in life. And I'm 39, turning 40. So we're similar, within a similar age group, and we can maintain a great sense of adventure and joy in our life by continuing to do the things that we love, like jiu-jitsu, like yoga, whatever it is. And when we take care of ourselves, good daily self-care of ourselves and things that bring us joy, we are our best self to show up to the people that we care about the most. So if we have family, if we have friends, we have a relationship, if we have kids, by us being fulfilled, that radiates out.
Beautiful.
I love you,
That's
man.
amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow.
That was really good.
Awesome.
Thanks again. Yeah, we've known each other more than a decade, but I feel like I didn't really know you before this, so I feel I do, and hopefully our listeners also have enjoyed getting to know you. Thank you so much. We'll have this out in a couple of weeks. If you could share it on your platform, on your social media, that would be awesome. And take care. Namaste.
See you guys. See you well.
In and out.